Today I'm going to interview an Irish artist named Vincent Kennedy, and this is my first interview with an artist, and I became interested in Vincent's work because I consider it very archetypal, and because Vincent does have an interest in Jungian psychology. So I wanted to first ask Vincent to describe two things: how he got into art, number one, and secondly, how he intersected with Jungian psychology. So go ahead, Vincent.
Yeah, no problem. When I was younger, I suppose I did a lot of sketching. A lot of At that time there was no internet, no books, so we had a big volume of the Britannia books. So you had from A to Z. So we had all the books there, and I would have went through, looked at a few pictures, a lot of animals at the start, sketching animals, and then I worked on doing a lot of portraits.
Mm-hmm.
Sketch what it just, and then funny enough, while you're looking through the book looking for pictures, I did a lot of reading too, so it probably helped me gain a bit more insight into things that other than it's just sort of pumped into you at school, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of works in that. And I never did any painting really until I was at college, at university.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I'm very interested in your art about is that you do seem to have a connection with that very deep archetype in the psyche, and so I wanted to talk with you about that. But go ahead.
You get both sides of it. That's the problem.
Yes.
It's not all sunshine and rainbows, you know.
Right. You were doing some art in college, and then.
Yeah, well, while I was studying I did it like a scientific type degree, sort of allied to medicine, working with, eventually working towards study of the heart and the heart function and things like that, and that's what I'm working at now. But there's something happened with the art, and it changed the way that I felt about myself. I suppose there was something I could do. That's when the real magic happened.
Mm-hmm.
That's when that proper balance. That's when I seen felt the ineffable. No, it was just so mind-boggling. It's just, you can't express it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you talk about love that you feel or anything like that, it doesn't comprehend, and it might be a bit coarse or a bit rude, but it was an orgasmic feeling multiplied by thousands.
Mm-hmm.
If you understand me.
Yes, I do.
So it was all psychological, but then at a stage you go beyond time and space. There is no time, no space. Everything you ever did in the past is forgiven. It meant nothing. It was all meant to happen for this particular reason, to bring you to this specific moment in time.
Right.
But then the time disappears, and then you see this. I saw this sphere, like a glowing reddish white energy ball, let's say, sphere.
Mm-hmm.
While I was in that sort of state of ecstasy, and I felt peace.
Wow.
Like peace that, not just like this peace that you've never thought that you could feel as a human being. Like, this is actually how you're supposed to feel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not all this nonsense going on in your head all the time, but this is exactly what you're supposed to feel like. Absolutely amazing. Amazing.
Right. Why don't we talk about some of your art and how it has come up, if that's okay?
Yeah, yeah.
You ready for that? Okay. So let me. I'm going to share my screen, and I have 17 of your pieces
Okay.
available here, and I just thought, since you gave them to me in order, I want to give them back to you in order so that you can talk about them. So here's the first piece. All right, are you seeing that on your screen?
Not quite yet. There we go. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So this is reminiscent of Jackson Pollock, of course,
yeah.
and you and I have talked about Pollock and our mutual love for Pollock
Yeah,
for
but
various.
I didn't know of Pollock before I started painting like that.
Oh, you didn't? Okay. So
No.
you just did this spontaneously and
Yes,
uh-huh.
I just built a house and I had loads of paint left over and I had a big canvas and I thought, well, here's an idea, and I just went
Right.
and did that, and I thought I'd created some new amazing way of painting until I went and YouTubed it and Googled it, and I was like, no, you're
Right.
all
Well,
you're 60 years too late.
this is yeah, but I mean, this is still it's a very powerful painting, Vincent,
Yeah,
and um, the um, the thing that has struck me, and others have heard this story, but um, if you look at a picture of a painting like this, you cannot really appreciate it, and but
no, no,
when you're in the presence of it, it can be very powerful, and so that's what happened to me with Pollock, which was I'd seen photographs of his work, of course, many
yeah,
times, but one time when I was exposed to number 131, one of his pieces, I
mm,
was incredibly moved by it. And
yeah,
just so people know, and to the point of sobbing, I mean, it caused me to sob.
yeah,
And let me, just so I just want to show Pollock's piece by comparison here. Um, and so let me, and then I'll bring yours back up on the screen. But
yeah. No,
I
I
just
got to
want.
see one of his as well in Venice.
Uh-huh. Okay. So
See
so
too.
this is actually the piece that I experienced. It's quite large. It's at least 10 feet wide. My recollection of it, which is obviously inflated, was that it was 20 feet wide and 10 feet high. But it maybe isn't that big, but it's quite large. And I
Yeah,
walked into the gallery where it was hanging and was just confronted with it. And instantly I just began to sob. And I don't react that way to art normally. And so I said, "Whoa, there's something here that I
yeah.
better pay attention to, right?" and so let me give yours back though, so that we can talk about yours. All right, so here's your painting again. Um, so go ahead. So
No, it's a bit like the thing with Pollock's paintings now. They've lost all that bright color that they had in them whenever he painted them.
mhm.
So they're a lot duller and darker now. So they probably would have been a lot brighter in that sort of way whenever he actually painted the paintings.
Right. Well, he didn't always use the best materials, and
No,
he was known for using car paint and all kinds of other
yeah.
stuff.
Uh,
And it would have been very expensive, I suppose, to buy, good quality oils to use
oh no,
on.
you can't.
Yeah,
For that size and to feel completely free with it, you have to use whatever you feel free to use. You know, I use large tins of paint.
yeah,
You know, really large tins of liquid paints.
right. So my point, though, was that when you're in the presence of a painting like this, it can
Yeah,
be overwhelming. And for me, um, that was a direct communication from Jackson Pollock's unconscious to my unconscious
yes.
without passing go. Okay, without passing either of our conscious minds. I obviously Pollock never thought that there would be a skip that would sob looking at his painting when he was doing it. And I never thought that if I ever saw Pollock, it would affect me in that way, but it surely did. So anyway, go ahead.
No, that's it. That's just the part of that was early on. It's like that's why I put the paintings to you, I sent them to you, and kind of try to get them in some sort of chronological order
Right.
as to that was the start of it. That's the start of the
Okay.
painting, and just to see where I was probably inside was
Right.
what I was putting outside.
Okay. So let's move on to the next one then, and I'll show this one. Okay. All right. So are you seeing this? This is
Yeah, yeah,
number two.
yeah. That's probably one of my favorite paintings that I've done.
And what makes it favorite to you?
I don't know. It just says something to me.
Uh, okay.
Um,
So the effect of these things are go on in the unconscious. In other words, you're saying you can't consciously articulate why
no,
you especially like this particular painting,
no.
but you do.
But like when I was painting that painting, I wasn't that wasn't sitting on an easel in front of me. If you understand,
Right.
that was just lying flat,
Uh-huh.
and I was using a what did you call it? Like a big palette knife,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just putting the paintings on
Right.
with no real thought about it. I just wanted to spread colors around, and then that's what came out. And
I see. Okay. So it somehow your unconscious uh,
likes it.
likes it and put it through to your conscious mind.
Yes,
Not, I mean, it makes an impression on you in your conscious mind, but
yes,
your unconscious one thinks it wants your ego to see it,
yeah,
and your ego does want to see it and likes it,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, is that a fair way to
That's a
put
fair
it? Okay,
comment. Yeah.
okay, all right. So let's move on to number three then. Um, okay, so here's number three.
Yeah. So that was using larger stuff.
I
So
see
so
how
again,
large it is.
yeah, yeah. So those paintings are about the same size. They're about 1.2 meters by a meter.
Wow.
So that's you can tell your audience what that is in inches. I'm not sure.
Right. Well, I can see from the floor that it's
Yeah,
quite large. I mean,
yeah,
I would have thought it's even bigger than that.
yeah.
Um,
No, the later ones are, but that's the size of them ones. Yeah,
right. Okay.
yeah.
All
So
right. So part of what I react to in your work, Vincent, is that I see the light coming through,
yes,
and whenever I'm reading Jung or anything about Jung, they're constantly talking about the darkness and
yeah,
then the light emerging.
yeah,
And what I see in your painting is the light emerging.
yeah.
And this is why I sort of tongue in cheek am referring to you as the light bringer. But you have to be
Well, that's
careful.
aye. What's the bad light bringer?
Well, you have to be careful about being the right bringer because remember the light bringer was Prometheus,
Yeah,
who was tied to a mountain and
a
had
bird
the
pecking at his liver
yeah
all night.
the eagles were pecking at his innards.
Yeah,
So so
maybe that's what's going on. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, so the point is, you can't get inflated by being the light bringer, but I mean it also in the sense that your art, to me,
Yeah,
starts to express these ideas that were have been in Jungian psychology. So
yeah,
go ahead. This is number four.
yeah. No, I love that painting.
Yeah, it's quite
Yeah,
impressive. I also
yeah,
love the name of it, and
yeah.
obviously naming a painting is an art unto itself.
That's the most difficult part.
Yeah, yeah, but it also expresses something unique as the admixture between the two.
Yeah.
And so, did you want to say something specific about this then?
Uh, no, well, it's just hanging in my hall here in the house. But it, it, to me, it's like the red is the Eros and the blue's the Logos,
Uh huh.
and they have separated, and it's sort of your job to bring them back together again.
I
That's the
see.
idea, you know, the
Uh
marriage
huh.
again and the conjunctio at the
Hmm.
end, you know.
Yeah,
That's but
terrific.
you have to separate them first to know that they're there.
Right.
You have to become conscious of it first,
Hmm.
and then all the work is to bring the two things back together again.
Yes, very, very true. Excellent. Great, great comment. Okay, so let me move on to the next one. And I really like the name of this one as well. Um, okay,
Yeah,
Imago Dei. So
yeah.
go ahead. And,
That's trying to give. There's no black in this one. There's no darkness here.
mhm.
That's just that sort of feeling of ecstasy in the presence of something that you cannot comprehend, but it's so the feeling, the emotion of explosion of emotion, and the feeling of warmth and love at that particular time could
Right,
only really come from the God image, you know.
right. And Imago Dei is Latin for image of God. And
Yeah,
so I think that that's a very apt name for this.
yeah,
Um, because we know even from the Big Bang that um, you know everything happened. Jung
yeah.
used to have a joke about it where uh, God was walking along one day in his garden and he had some dice in his pocket and he threw them down on the floor and said, or on the ground and said, "Let there be a world," and that was the Big Bang.
That was the Big
So
Bang.
anyway, so I thought that was pretty profound naming.
Yeah,
Okay, all right. So the next one is interesting because it's showing the opposite in a sense,
yeah,
facing the shadow.
yeah,
So go ahead and
yeah. A lot of energy in the painting, but uh, I think the, the darkness that people don't realize that they're going to come up against whenever they start facing their own shadow.
yes,
You know, stoicism will help that a wee bit, but it can become overwhelming.
absolutely,
It's probably the toughest thing that you're going to do in your life is facing your own shadow. Even
yes,
to recognize that you have one at the start
right,
is tough. But then trying to work your way through it's tough, and it's a fight, and it's a battle between a lot of energies, and that's what that painting represents. There's the darkness and the lights trying to go against each other.
right.
There's a lot going on. I really like that painting. Actually, that painting sold right away as soon as I painted it.
Oh, is that right? Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. All right, so we'll stop that share then. And then the next one is, I think it's this. Okay, so this is
yes,
number 7, which is Revelation.
yeah. Um, well, I think the name of the painting says it all, because that's what it feels like. Going from a materialist to this revelation that there's another being within your own psyche. It's just not that simple to comprehend.
Yeah.
But it's just this sudden explosion that that you thought you were one all along, and then yet no, you're not. You're two. You know,
Yeah.
there's two centers, and you better start paying attention to this other center.
Yep, absolutely.
You know,
Um, yeah. Very powerful, Vincent. I
yeah,
really like this painting
yeah,
also. Um, so let me move on to the next one, though. Um,
I tried to paint them all as close to after the experience of the conjunctio as I could.
Absolutely.
You
That's
know, where the
obviously
energy was there.
when you're in the zone.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Well, so this one's, I called it the source because that sphere, that reddish, whitish sphere, cloudy, what seemed to be the source of everything, and that was telling me that we are all one, and that what I was beyond duality. Your state of non-duality,
Right.
and you are one, and that's seems to be that's the best painting that I have to express what it was to be beyond Maya, as Marie-Louise von Franz says, and the Eastern religions call it. That's what it's like to be beyond Maya, you know.
Yeah, and what I see in this is, the light forcing itself through on you too, right? And being sort of behind the painting and pressing through, and that's a very powerful idea to me. So, okay. And then, okay, so this is Encounter with the Greater Personality.
Yeah. That's that's because I think when you first experience it, it's very frightening. For that first instant, before you feel sort of the sense of love and connection, it's absolute dread, I think, a wee bit.
Yeah, it can be shocking, can't it?
Just a shock. That's what that painting, I suppose, about, is that initial shock. You know what I mean? Just
Definitely.
explosion.
Yeah, that's very powerful. I mean, and as I now look at how you've named these and how you've connected them up, I say, oh my God, we really are establishing some links to Jungian psychology here, much more than I thought we would. So that's very interesting. Okay, so the next one.
But like when I'm painting, I'm not really conscious of things.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. So that one's again no darkness. It's that sense of love when the ego actually just takes its proper place in the scheme of things.
Right.
And it's that outward burst of love and feeling that you never thought existed as a human being, you know.
Right.
You know,
get out of the way of it.
Yeah, just let it burst through, you know.
Right.
Just most of the time that is our problem. We're in the way of it. We don't know.
Very definitely.
We're causing the obstruction all the time.
Right. Okay. And that's our ego's job, is to cause the obstruction.
But without it, we'd be unconscious, and that's the problem.
Right, that is the problem. Okay, I really, when I saw this painting the first time, I said, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, again, lots of color trying to express that. There's something there that people, what I'm trying to do at this stage, this is 2 years after, that painting's 2 years after I had my episode. And I suppose that painting is much larger. That painting's about 5 foot by 6 foot. So I'm trying to get images now. Well, it feels like that's sort of my job to make these images. Whether I get paid for it or not, I have to do it.
Right.
To make these images that'll speak to people's unconscious and let them see that they're free, if they would really let themselves be free, you know?
Right. And you had mentioned to me at one point that your wife isn't really into your art, and so it just struck me that this particular image showing what's happening to the walls of your space there.
Well, that's a cold farming shed, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I understand, but I'm just drawing the attention of the listeners to that, because we're going to come back to that point in a few minutes. But
well, she's the conscientious one. She keeps all the paperwork right, and I'm just not that conscientious. I'm really low on conscientiousness.
I see. Yeah. But higher
And
on openness maybe.
I'm off the scale in openness.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay. So here's another
yeah,
one.
yeah. So a similar sort of thing as well is
Hmm.
trying to work, and you can see the light shining sort of in the bottom third of your painting. So the paint, all the oils, the way the oils dry really nicely is that they all run together and they have
Hmm.
this lovely shine on the top of them. And it's
Right.
lovely when you paint in matte, it doesn't have the same. You have to paint over a lacquer over to make it nice. But whenever you're finished with that oil paint and you've
Yes.
mixed your thinners and you did all the work, it's a finished product right away, and it's just lovely then to once it's
Right.
dried or nearly dry, a couple of days later, when I come back to it, paints melt in together. They blend more for days
Yeah.
afterwards,
Do
and
you
I just
have
let
you
that
ever
happen.
considered using alkyd oils?
No, what's that?
Well, that's a kind of oil paint, but it dries in like 36 hours. You know,
Oh, right.
they say that the Mona Lisa is not yet dry. Okay, because oil paint is very hard to dry, and
Yeah,
can take weeks.
yeah,
But uh, and some have said that the Mona Lisa is not yet dry, but alkyds do dry fast,
they do dry.
and they're almost like regular oil paints. I mean,
Yeah.
I find them like, for my
Well,
purposes, when I've
I
done it.
I use a lot of white spirits, so paint thinners as well. So the paint's thin and it's in a cold shade, so you just have to wait and wait and wait. And I can't use that's like a baseboard that I use to paint a roll of canvas on. So
Right.
I have to wait a few days or whatever length, maybe a week or two for it to dry before I can get at it again.
Right.
And just to build up more tension between the opposites, so then I can release it again.
Right. Now this one is a really in-your-face painting here.
Yeah, yeah. I think I've got a name for that one now. I think I'll call that "Born of This New Sun."
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you could born of this new sun. I mean, I shouldn't uh, give you my thoughts, but
No, well, I'm really into a band at the minute called Mumford and Sons. Have you ever heard of them?
no, I haven't. But
After having the experience that I went through and listening to their lyrics, it's unbelievable.
uh-huh,
Uh,
interesting.
they're some of the songs like "Whispers in the Dark" or these "Lover's Eyes." It's almost like they're talking about the self,
Hmm.
the wonderful stuff.
Well, I like your abstraction because a lot of people don't understand abstract work, but
I
um,
didn't either.
yeah, but when you can express a sort of square idea as an abstract, it's just really amazing. And
Yeah,
obviously, you've done this with quite a few of Dr. Jung's basic ideas here.
yeah,
Um, but you could also be doing it with sort of the steps and individuation from alchemy and that sort of thing,
yes.
which you and I have
Well, I
talked
think I
about.
think I think maybe the paintings was a form of alchemy.
Oh, it is, sure.
You know the way that they were projecting into
And
their
right,
experiments.
right,
I'm projected onto a piece of canvas.
right, and I would say that this is alchemy. I mean,
Yeah,
this is you projecting a
yeah,
mental state onto a canvas, and
yeah,
it's really terrific and
yeah,
amazing. And the light coming through is just so powerful in these
yeah,
paintings. I just really love it.
yeah. I like that one too. This again, these paintings that you're showing now are all 5 foot by 6 foot or so. So
Hmm.
large canvases, and
Right,
always I'm trying to sort of at this stage just to show that it comes from the center of yourself. You're not
right,
going to find any true answers outside of yourself, really.
right.
That center of light, that even though there is a lot of darkness, is within you. You know.
Yeah. No, I can really see the light coming through you, right?
Yeah.
And you can see the darkness not understanding the light too. So it's very powerful. Um,
But
that's
still, even now, it still takes. I don't know why it seems to. it takes a wee bit of suffering for me to paint, uh, to shake myself up, because you get sort of carried away with it. You have so much daily duties. You have a mortgage, and you have a job, and you have a wife, and you have 3 children, and you have all
Sure.
these things to do. But
Right.
then you need to just go on that bit further and do what you need to do, you know.
Right. Um,
So this is
but
my wife loved this painting right away,
hmm
because I think there was a study done, and there's the different types of painting. The chaotic painting are more the openness. The people high in openness like chaotic paintings, and the people high in conscientiousness like paintings like that have a
Right.
that. This is my mandala, let's say.
hmm
You know
Well,
what I mean?
it's good that you're doing both sides of it, though. That
Yeah,
shows that you're approaching your own wholeness,
yeah.
and and that's very powerful. And
Uh,
I did want to add to this now the photo you took of your son.
oh yeah,
So
yeah.
let me share that here
Yeah.
uh,
So
because
he just walked up, and I wanted to show him his painting as I always do. And he walked up, and the light, this is the way the light shines, and this was right away. This is what he did as soon as he saw the painting. So I just thought it was amazing, and I thought, "Well, stand there, don't move. I want to take a picture of this," and that's the picture I took. So it's
yeah.
the light of consciousness within ourselves that we're trying
Right, and you are
to show
seeing
forth.
this, but you're seeing him on your screen right now, correct?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I just think that that's just an amazing photo.
Uh, that's a class photo. Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. Sort of like, I mean, children, I say, are like wild animals, and they think they're kings and queens.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I have a 2.5-year-old. He thinks he's king, all right.
I'm sure,
Yeah.
and so it's just interesting that your son is doing that, like I don't
Yeah.
know, Solomon or something like that. Now it's
Yeah. He's Ryland's 8, so he's 8. So that was I like that.
okay. That was number 16. Now there was one other that you sent me. Let me see if I can get back to it here. Okay, it's here. So let me share this with you. Okay, this is a more recent one, I guess.
Yeah, that's still drying.
Uh-huh. So, do you have any
Yeah.
thoughts about that?
Well, when I was painting it, all I could see was an eye. Now, it
hmm
kind of changed. It changed a wee bit as I painted on, but at the start, that was the center of the eye, right there in front of you.
hmm
You know what I mean? And it really took me aback for a wee second once it started creating itself. And
Right.
uh,
Now, so when you're painting this, are you just leaving the center blank, or are you actually
no, no,
putting?
that's white. There's white paint. So the white paint, you see the way the white paint comes out onto the blue paint.
Right.
So then when you spin it around, then the white paint then spreads out a wee bit
I
evenly.
see.
But it's like a gentle balance between the white, the blue, and thinners, and the speed,
Yeah.
and a lot of things all playing into together to trying to get it
Right. And
to
how
work.
large is this painting, Vincent?
That one's the same. It's 5 foot by 6 foot.
Uh-huh. Okay, that's very powerful. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing those.
No, no problem at all.
Thank you for joining me with this interview with Vincent Kennedy, uh, an Irish artist. And if you're interested in Vincent's work, please feel free to let us know. Vincent is, I
I have,
presume,
I have,
pardon?
I have my own website, but I haven't got a lot of my newer stuff on yet.
Yes. Okay. So if you would, and so
But they
you
can
can.
email me and anything, anytime.
Right. Okay. So if you will agree, I'll put your email address on the uh, discussion about this
Yeah,
video,
yeah.
about this interview, and they'll be able to reach you.